My name is Elsa, and I am a health, wellness, kind of nutrition coach. I'm studying nutrition and Bachelor's of Science Nutrition at UBC, and I love health and wellness, so I'm using all that information to be a little wellness health coach.
Awesome. And so, what led to your interest in biohacking and general health?
Okay, it started when I was in high school because I had a little extra belly fat, which I really was not happy about. And then I also started getting horrible, horrible, chronically cystic acne all over my face. So I had a little bit of belly fat, didn't like, and cystic acne, which was like just brutal and totally crushing. I had no idea what the deal with it was, but I just wanted it to go away. And I started understanding, like, oh, if you eat healthy, you can lose weight. So I thought, okay, I'll eat healthy and I'll lose weight. And I switched up my diet. We lived really close to like this little Italian cafe. So every day after school, I was like eating margarita pizza. Or if it wasn't margarita pizza, it was like some type of pasta dish. And I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. So I stopped doing that. And obviously, I lost some belly fat. And then I started working out more. I've always played competitive sports. And so there's a lot of training demands in there. And as my training got more intense, as I got into better teams, I also started losing fat. So my body composition improved, my diet improved, and my belly fat went away. And in conjunction with all that, my skin started to clear up. So I was like, hey, this is cool. Like, what is going on here? And I started understanding, okay, gluten, legumes, tofu, seed oils like wheat, this is all kind of what's coming together to cause these issues. But the really big thing was legumes and wheat. That was causing this gut issue and that was causing the acne. And then, of course, just junk food kind of makes you a little bigger.
Yeah. I think it's so interesting because so often this is the story that you hear about anyone that's really interested in health. I think so much of it starts with a personal note. It's like, oh yeah, this happened to me, and then it led to me being interested. And I think everyone gets into it thinking it's going to be this simple thing to like lose a little bit of weight or clear your skin. And then all of a sudden you realize there's just so much more to it, and it can be so fun to like dive deeper and deeper into it. But I don't think any of us start at the place where we're like, I'm going to be tracking all this stuff and I'm going to know all this about micronutrients. And then what happens is it's just like, I feel like it's a deep dive, at least for me.
Totally. I feel like that little bit of belly fat that I hated so much was like a huge diving board, and I didn't realize the diving board I was climbing up was so so high up, and then I jumped off and I just took this huge deep dive. Now I'm in my third year university. When I was in grade 10, I didn't even think I was going to university. Like, if it wasn't for biohacking and changing my diet, I would not have improved my brain or my cognitive abilities, or I wouldn't have changed the way my little ADHD learning disability brain works, and I wouldn't have figured out school and gotten into university and performed well in university if it wasn't for this. So that's like all because of the belly fat I didn't like. I started learning about health, started learning about biohacks.
It ties into everything too, like kind of how you mentioned there. I think it ties into school, it ties into, I mean, your general life, your fitness, how you feel, your relationships. All of those things can be better when you feel your best, which is the nutrition part of it.
Mhm.
Yeah, do you wear any wearables to track your progress? I know that's a big thing right now.
I think most wearables are like absolute BS, the ones that are on the market,
Mhm.
like Apple Watch, Fitbit. Sorry, I'm saying names because they're proven to not be good. But if you're talking about a blood sugar monitor, who were these innovated for? These were innovated for people with type 1 diabetes. They have to be accurate. Otherwise, people with type 1 diabetes would literally be dropping dead because they wouldn't be able to accurately know their blood sugar and they wouldn't be able to accurately dose insulin. So I think the ones that are, if it's a wearable that's been innovated for the treatment of a chronic disease and it's now being brought to the wider public as a wellness tool, I think those are awesome. I think if it's starting as a wellness tool, then there's a lot of room to grow and become better and become more fine tuned, which is what we're seeing. I heard of the Whoop and the Aura,
Mhm.
and I think those are just getting more and more fine tuned to be more and more accurate because you start with this cool product idea and you need to test it out and you need to figure it out and you need to fine tune it. So I think there's so much room to grow and there's so much innovation going on, and these things are going to get better and better.
Oh, definitely. I agree. Like as science improves, as tech improves, all those things get better and better.
Mhm.
Do you do any blood testing, or how do you keep track of metrics as far as your progress nutritionally and fitness health wise yourself?
Okay, I think this is like the little nerd in me.
Yeah.
I'm I'm very good at say okay, emotions here, objectivity here, because it's so easy for me to look in the mirror and be like, "Oh my god, did I get fat?" But then I have to think, "Okay, well, let's think of this objectively. I'm going to weigh myself and I'm going to measure myself." I none if my clients are weighing themselves, then I want them to measure themselves as well because I think weight itself is not very informative. So one of my clients, I'm thinking like, we need to do a body recomposition. Your calories are already so low. Fat loss, it's just not going to work cutting calories. I don't want to do that. It's not healthy, not mentally healthy, not sustainable. We need to increase lean muscle mass. So with her, I don't want her weighing herself, but I know she will. So I'm saying weigh yourself and measure yourself so you can see like weight is going up, but where is that weight going up? It's going up in my legs and my arms, but in my butt, but not in my waist because you're getting stronger, not fatter. So that's what I do to track my body composition, weight, and measurements. And then in terms of blood testing, I used to get my blood tested every 2 months or so. Now I'm doing it quite less often because there were a few things that I like wanted to keep my eye on that were a little unusual. And now everything is like being treated and better and consistent, so I don't need to go as often. But
That's super interesting. I
I love
think
the data.
the measuring point is really, really great. I used to be a bodybuilder. That was a huge part of my life, and I saw this quite often where I was actually very heavy for a woman of my size, but very lean.
Hmm.
And so a lot of times people would get confused. And I was like, no, it's not actually like I weigh that much, but I just have quite a bit of muscle and I'm built a little bit bigger bones, stronger in that way as well. Um, and so I think it's really important the measuring part versus just weighing yourself because it's not a clear picture. And I know you said you're in college and studying a ton, so I'm sure you're super busy. Do you have any tips for other college students that are trying to balance their health with a busy schedule and or a budget?
Budget,
Mm,
you just need real food. Like I don't care what you eat. I just care that it's the most minimally processed as possible. Like right now, if I haven't done any what I eat in a days in a while because if you saw it, you would just be like shocked because I'm eating so many sardines, so many eggs, so many frozen berries and like carrots and sweet potatoes. That's all my diet is right now because I have no time. So if you don't have time or if you're on a budget, just get whatever whole foods are available. I don't care what it is, just make it whole foods, nutrient dense, and eat whatever you want of that group. And that's just going to cover your bases. In terms of fitness and like exercise, number one, set standards for yourself. And number two, manage your time. So I'll study in 90-minute study sprints. And then I'll say, okay, I'm going to have a 20-minute break or a 30-minute break. Just like I would say, I'm going to go to the gym for 90 minutes. And then I'm going to come home and shower and get changed and get ready after. That's a 90-minute focus session of something. And then a 30-minute chill session. And then in terms of setting standards, that's something kind of like it's a standard you hold yourself accountable to no matter what. So in the summer, my standard was I'm getting 10K steps every day, no matter what. Now I'm back in school. I've changed my standard to 3 times a week. I'm going to the gym at night and I'm walking on the treadmill for an hour and I'm reading a book. And no matter what, I do not deviate from that. So that's the most important start, set standards.
Yeah, I think the routine helps a lot as well. Like I find that for myself and for people I've worked with in the past that just, yeah, especially when you're busy, whether that's school or you're in a really intense job setting, I 100% agree. Having a standard of I'm going to at least do this one thing a day, whether that's food related, walking, lifting, even like socially as well. Like I'm going to do one thing that feels good as far as meeting with friends or going outside. Those things are so important, I think, as well. And they can get missed when you're super, super busy. And you can build off those habits as well, I think, is the biggest thing.
Also, like hybridizing things. So study with your friends. You probably won't get that much done, but it's fun. And you get your social and you get your school. Go to a hit class with your friends. Like I hate hit, but getting excited to go to a hit class with my friends is so much fun. And then of course, like we're all in our cute gym outfits. We want to post a mirror selfie in the fitness studio, and like the whole energy around it is fun. The hit class sucks, but being with your friends, listening to loud music on the way to the car there is awesome, and it just feels good.
But as long as you're with other people, it does do that like kill two birds with one stone because you're getting the social and you're also getting that activity. And now as like, being out on my own and working full time, the other one that I find is really great is I love getting coffee with people. That's a big thing. And a lot of times, what I'll do to make that also part of a productive part of my day is I'll say, okay, I'd love to get a coffee, but then let's go take a walk. So for
Mhm.
me, I live by the beach. So it's like, okay, let's grab a coffee and then we'll take our coffee to go at the beach and we'll go walk our dogs or like all that. And so you get all these things at one time. And I think that is such a great tip because the more you can kind of get done at one time, it makes it more enjoyable, A, and B, when you're super busy, it just is easier
Yeah.
and feels more productive.
Yeah, Sophia, that is literally exactly what I do. I say, okay, friends, we're getting coffee, we're going for a walk on the seawall, and we're catching up. We're dumping all our news on the table, and we're walking and drinking coffee like old ladies.
Oh, yeah.
It's
There's
the
a
best.
reason older people do it. There is a reason. Walking is the best. And like walking with your neighbors, it's, I'm a huge, huge fan of like low impact exercise. And I think walking is one of those things that is accessible for everyone. It's so easy and it's enjoyable. Like whether that's listening to music, you're with people, you're like just out in nature.
Mhm.
Even if you're on a treadmill in the gym, it's great. I'm like a
Oh,
huge proponent of that.
the walking on the treadmill, reading a book, for me, I'm really like I'm sitting on a wiggle. I'll show you my chair. It's a wiggle stool right now, so I can like wiggle around and spin around on the wheels and everything. Because I just need to be like moving. So when I'm walking on the treadmill, reading a book, my reading comprehension goes like through the roof, and it's awesome. So if anybody is like, you need more steps, or you just need to be moving, read a book on the treadmill, study on the treadmill. Like study, you can type on a spin bike, so you're not like all over the place spelling everything wrong.
That's a huge one. I would say even for me, I have a standing desk and I was kind of against it for a while. They're a little more expensive. But I will say, even just like having the ability to be standing and like even with the less movement of that, it's so much better for me than just sitting. Like, I just find that I feel better at the end of the day and I don't get this weird, like, I get like a computer slouch. That's my thing, and I have to be really careful. But yeah, there's so many little hacks I feel like we could go on and on about forever as far as like working in movement into your day as someone that's busy working with school, all of that stuff. But I know a lot of this ties into brain health because we're all working, we're in school, um, and obviously, like being tired, being busy, all of that. What is your advice to someone that's working on improving their brain health?
Oh, I would always break this down into three levels. Number one is like this is just the very first thing before you start fine tuning, because I think fine tuning is useless if your foundation is just like not there. If your bicycle is falling apart, why would you bother like accessorizing it with cool things if the whole structure is not working? So what is your overall diet? Like, are you starting your morning with Pop Tarts and Monster Energy? Or are you starting your morning with two pieces of white bread and honey and Skippy peanut butter and a pumpkin spice latte. Like, neither of those are really that great. And then what are you doing for food for the rest of the day? Like, are you constantly snacking on little meals, or what are you having for lunch? Are you getting something covered in mayonnaise sauce, or are you getting something deep fried? Just your overall dietary pattern, that's number one. Because if you're getting all these inflammatory molecules, or if your blood sugar is not stable, then you're causing inflammation in your body and you're impairing blood flow to your brain. If your blood sugar's all over the place, then your brain's not getting a consistent supply of energy. And what happens when your blood sugar crashes? Ugh, brain fog, and you can't focus. And then you get super hungry again for something that's probably not going to be high nutritional quality. So, number one, overall diet. Number two is when you want to fine tune. And that's when I'm looking at, like, what specifically are you eating for breakfast? What specifically are you having for lunch and dinner? How can we play around with macros and certain foods? Like, okay, is your dinner going to be a chicken breast, or is it going to be grass fed bison or salmon? Because these are all proteins, but what else is that protein coming with? So in the grass-fed bison, you're getting copper, iron, and zinc. And that iron is going to help you with some metabolic processes in your brain. Those B vitamins are helping with your metabolism in your brain. And then if we compare that to fish, well, what are the fatty acids you're getting in the fish? If we compare these things to eggs, like if you want eggs for dinner, I have eggs for dinner. I don't have time to cook. I'm thinking about the choline and the phospholipids in the eggs. What's that doing for my brain? So figuring out how we can carefully craft your day to get this whole complement of nutrients that are all going to add up together and just like whoosh, shoot your brain power to the moon.
And are there any specific nutrients that you would say, like maybe top 3 or 4, that you would say are the best that you should focus on getting for brain health? I know it's specific
Creatine,
for everyone, but
creatine, 100%. Because I think your largest creatine stores are in your brain. I think it's, or your brain and your muscle, they store the most amount of creatine, and I think your heart does as well. Creatine, and in vegans and vegetarians supplementing with creatine, there is proven and significant increases in cognitive function because you get creatine from meat. Vegan vegetarians not eating meat, so you don't have that creatine in your brain. So it's just providing that extra energy the way that you would use it for pre-workout.
that's an
Choline,
interesting one because so many people I feel like are afraid of creatine. That's
that's
like it's a very controversial supplement, I would say, even though it is actually one of the most highly tested supplements in all of the like nutrition and fitness world.
like, it is incredibly safe. It's science-based. There's a huge body of evidence supporting its efficacy
Hmm.
and proving that it works. Proving that if you're vegan, vegetarian, if you're deficient, you don't have enough creatine and you add creatine, you can improve not only athletic performance, but you can improve your ability to focus, retain information, process information. So, creatine 100%. The next thing I would say is anything rich in choline. And that's because choline is needed to make acetylcholine, which is a neurotransmitter. And this neurotransmitter is absolutely essential to the process of forming new memories, consolidating information, and paying attention. Attention, alertness, memory formation. When you are studying in school, when you're in your lecture, you need to be paying attention. You need to process information. And what learning is consolidating memories. You're remembering this material in a way that makes it possible for you to recall that information, manipulate that information in your head, and synthesize new ideas or solve problems. So anything rich in choline, and that's going to be cold water fatty fish, eggs, any type of eggs, fish eggs, chicken eggs, duck eggs, which I had once before. They were huge. It was crazy. And meat. Meat has a lot of choline in it. Creatine, choline. I think anything that can kick you into, maybe not kick you into ketosis, but elevate blood ketones is really, really effective. Like, there's research showing that old people or people with Alzheimer's or cognitive decline, they will have improved cognitive function if supplementing with um, keto keto esters, I believe it is, or MCT oil,
Mm.
specifically MCT oil, that can get converted into ketones in your liver, and that can improve cognitive function. So I make a coconut latte in the morning. Caffeine, caffeine improves cognitive function, attention, learning, memory. All my university professors, I bet you can relate, but they say have coffee, like show up to your early morning lectures and have a coffee because it works. We know how caffeine works and we know it does work. So I do coconut cream with my coffee, and that's giving me MCTs and caffeine.
Yeah, I think the big thing with coffee that I've always found is I'm a huge coffee drinker. I worked at coffee shops for like most of my like teen years.
Mhm.
So I'm a huge proponent of it, but you need to be really careful what you're putting in it. That's the one thing I tell people all the time because there's a huge difference between like I'm drinking, it looks really watered down, but I'm drinking just like drip filtered coffee that's like going through the little drip thing, not a plastic machine. It's just a glass drip, and then it has half and half in it that's organic that I know where it came from, and that's it. Like I'm not putting a ton of sugar in it. There's not a bunch of flavored creamer or anything that just has like weird additives because I think that's the big thing within like coffee culture and just like getting that early morning drink. A lot
Yeah.
of times people start their day with that and it actually has tons of sugar. You're just picking up a creamer that looks like it's going to taste good, and I'm sure it tastes amazing, but it also has tons of sugar, tons of added gums, tons of added flavor, and it's just generally not that great for you. No, go ahead.
Chubby little me in high school lived across from Starbucks. Every morning, me and my sister would walk to that Starbucks and we would go into the Starbucks secret menu and we would get like, oh, let's get the Reese's Pieces Caramel Ribbon Crunch
Yep.
whipped cream beverage. And we were like 13. And
Yep.
we would be starting our morning with this. Like the rule in the house was if me and my sister were ready by 8 in the morning, we were allowed to walk to Starbucks, and my mom would pick us up from Starbucks and take us to school. And we would show up to school with these ridiculous drinks, 300, 400 calories, basically all from sugar and
Mhm.
fat from the whipped cream. And that's how we would start our day. And like, of course, I'm chubby and my skin's a mess. Like, look at what I'm starting my day with. We need good coffee hygiene. You need organic coffee. You don't want to be drinking pesticides in your brew, and you don't want to be drinking oxidized coffee that's been like just ground and sitting on the shelf in the store forever, because then you're losing nutritional quality, antioxidant quality.
What is your opinion on people drinking coffee first thing in the morning? What's your opinion on that?
I think it's a hybrid of silly and smart
Mhm.
because I mean, okay, first of all, Andrew Huberman talks about it, so it must be legit. And why I think it's smart is because we do know caffeine can elevate stress hormones. Like I think a lot of us know that intuitively from the first time we had a big dose of caffeine, you just feel anxious and you don't feel good. And we also know that caffeine as a stimulatory molecule can increase cortisol and increase adrenaline because that's just what stimulants can do. So that's definitely not ideal to be spiking these stress hormones first thing in the morning. But I don't think that the effect is that significant enough to really freak out or worry or stress about it. And of course, you want to do a risk benefit analysis. So if I have so much school right now I need to do, like I'm looking at my desk in front of me and I'm just like, whoa, I got to do this. I'm going to be up at 6 in the morning and I'm going to be drinking my coffee because I need to get through this. This to me is more important because the stress of not having this done or not being able to or not feeling like I can do it is way worse than the little spike in cortisol that my coffee first thing in the morning is going to be giving me. So,
I
silly and smart risk benefit analysis.
I think that's such a thing with everything relating to like health and nutrition, and I bring this up a lot, is just that worry about what you can worry about without actually causing yourself more stress to the point where it's actually worse for you.
Yeah.
Because I see that very often where people stress so much about the like little detail stuff that then they're actually, you're worried about a cortisol spike from your coffee. And then because you're now rushing to get some food in you before you're out the door with your coffee, and all of a sudden now you're in a hurry, you're actually spiking up your stress even more than you would have if you just had the coffee in the first place and just moved on. And I think I
Yep.
see that so often with like every part of nutrition and health.
I had that with grapes. And as soon as I say grapes, I'm sure like everybody tuning in that's like well aware of sugar, blood sugar, metabolic health is thinking, "Oh, grapes. God, no, those things are sugar bombs." And they kind of are. Like there's not much fiber. It really is just a nice crisp ball of sweet water. But I love grapes, and I did not eat grapes for so long because I thought, "Oh, it's just a sugar bomb. It's basically a gummy bear." And then I thought, if I'm not having grapes, then I'm having blueberries or an apple. And I eat sweet potato with dinner. I eat white rice with sushi, but I'm not allowed to have grapes. This is so silly. It's so silly because my blood sugar is going to be spiking from all those foods otherwise. So, yeah, a blood sugar spike is not ideal. But if my blood sugar is going to spike from these other foods, why can't I have grapes? So you want to maybe if you are really worried, you can have grapes and cheese, grapes and prosciutto. That would be awesome. That's what I recommend to my clients often actually is with fruits, have some goat cheese or have some prosciutto because it makes you feel good because you feel like an Italian little queen with your fancy food. But then you're also balancing your blood sugar and you're getting a few more nutrients in there. But yeah, back to that coffee thing. What's risk benefit analysis? What's causing you more stress? What's causing your body more harm? Stressing over something that's causing minimal harm, or engaging in that thing because it really doesn't cause any harm.
Yeah, I think that's the big question. And it really will depend. I think this is why just health, nutrition, all of it is so personal because it really will depend on other lifestyle factors. I think for everyone, like your exact experience, your lifestyle, all of that ties into every piece of nutrition and health. Um, and I know you talk a little bit about seed oils. Can you talk a little bit more about that with me? Because I think that's also another like very
Hot topic.
hot topic, kind of like demonized in the common media.
Okay, let's start off with this thing. The people that are talking smack about seed oils also talk smack about sunscreen, which I think is really interesting because basically your whole body's made up of cells. These cells have a fatty membrane around them. Where do those fats come from? They come from your diet, or they're kind of synthesized from things that you get from your diet. So this fat that you eat is going to, or is a large component, a large amount of it is going to become a part of your cell membranes. If you are eating seed oils, which are highly chemically processed, highly oxidized and damaged, they're inflammatory, they're unstable. Now these bad molecules are making up your cell membrane. They're literally becoming a part of your body. And that causes a lot of cellular dysfunction when it adds up over time. And that can cause metabolic damage or metabolic dysfunction. And it can damage your mitochondria and it causes huge amounts of inflammation. And we're starting to understand that more inflammation, poor cellular health, metabolic dysfunction, this is all increasing risk of cognitive decline or atherosclerosis, metabolic disorders like type 2 diabetes. These are all connected. So it kind of health at all levels really starts at your cell. And if you're making your cell out of these highly damaged fats, that's really not a good idea. The other thing I'll say to compare it to sunscreen, so we have this group of people saying, don't eat the seed oils, but then they're saying, don't wear sunscreen. Well, if the sun is burning your skin, you're causing very similar damage to your cells that these seed oils are doing. You're oxidizing and burning the fats in your cells, which is why you get a sunburn, in a similar way that these seed oil fats are oxidized. So I say avoid seed oils, wear your sunscreen, and you're going to protect your cellular health. But you have to have a high quality sunscreen because sunscreen is like notoriously well known for having a lot of carcinogens in it, endocrine disruptors, really nasty things. So you want a good sunscreen to protect your cells. Other thing I'll say about seed oils is First of all, a lot of the fat that you are eating is just going to be burned for energy. A lot of it's going to be burned for energy. A lot of it's going to be stored as stored body fat. And then later on, it's going to be burned for energy. And there's other functions of fat as well. But the small amount of fat that is being used to make your cell membranes, you just don't want that coming from seed oils and damaged fats. So you want to be having a healthy diet where your body can make itself out of these healthy molecules.
Yeah, I think that's a really great way to say that. And sunscreen's crazy. It's extremely controversial, like what was going into sunscreen. And I agree 100%. If you can, you need to make sure that you're finding one that has minimal ingredients that are active ingredients as well. And then also, I live by the ocean. I think you do as well, somewhat. Just be avoiding stuff that's also not reef safe. I think that's a really big thing that I bring up all the time. Anytime anyone mentions sunscreen, make sure that it's good for you and it's also not bad for the ocean.
Yeah, pure zinc sunscreen, perfect.
What are some tips you have for grocery shopping and understanding the labels on grocery products? I think that kind of ties in with the seed oils and understanding what's actually going on a label.
Whoa, okay, that's a big question. Um, Addressing seed oils, I'm just gonna group any cooking oil into that.
Mm-hmm.
Olive oil, if you're buying crackers and these are olive oil crackers, the olive oils, it's still not going to be in that healthy, pure state because these crackers have been baked, processed, heated, maybe fried. Now they're sitting in a bag which
Mm-hmm.
contains oxygen on a shelf. So these chemical reactions are happening to the fats of the olive oil to make it less stable or to oxidize it, to damage it, to make it inflammatory in the same way that this happens to seed oils. So you don't really want to be getting anything that's got any oil in it. And also anything that has any oil in it, well, it's also probably going to be an ultra processed food, right? Like it's going to be these crackers with other preservatives, wheat covered in glyphosate, flavors, salt, sodium, sugar, all this stuff to make a hyper palatable food. So it's just not ideal. So you want to avoid anything that comes in a package unless it's like vacuum packed fish, canned sardines if you're me and kind of crazy and you go through those a lot, or frozen berries. When I'm grocery shopping, I get whatever fresh produce I want, whatever fruit I want, whatever meat or cheese product I want. And cheese, my little guidelines for cheese are like get it imported from Europe, get it from a sheep or a cow, and just make sure the only ingredients are the dairy, salt, maybe some herbs, and bacterial starter culture. That's it. You don't want your cheese coming in a whipped cream can, and you don't want your cheese in string form. That's not real cheese. Um, and then you want protein from an animal, carbohydrates from buckwheat, quinoa, amaranth. These are all great and gluten free. You want sweet potato as well, and then you want whatever vegetables, literally whatever vegetables, whatever fruits.
Mm-hmm.
Kale, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, excellent for detox. Carrots, beets, those are like a little starchier, but they're nice and crunchy. And then lettuce, so you can make a salad with extra virgin organic olive oil.
What is your opinion on like frozen and canned vegetables? I know you mentioned fruit. That's a big thing that I use personally, but I'm curious on your opinion on like frozen vegetables and canned and all that.
My freezer is full of frozen berries and frozen broccoli because, again, like I'm a student, I can't be going to the grocery store all the time to get fresh broccoli. Like that is bonkers. So I keep my frozen broccoli, it's organic, it's already steamed, it's blanched. I keep it in the freezer. Obviously, that's not ideal for nutritional quality, but I'm eating broccoli and I'm saving time and I'm saving money. So it is 100% worth it. Also, we do know that frozen food, when it is just frozen in the raw state, it's really, the nutrients are really well contained. So my blueberries are super potent in antioxidants, even though they've been frozen for like a few months.
Yeah,
I
I
don't have
think
any.
that's like one of the best hacks that I've found as far as looking to save money and also get your nutrition. Because
Mhm.
I know I live somewhere really expensive, and the problem is we shop at Costco. It's just my boyfriend and I. So if I were to buy a Costco bag of broccoli, we won't eat all of it
Yeah.
in the time before it goes bad. Or we could buy one vegetable, and that would be the one vegetable that we would eat for 2 weeks before we'd get rid of it, and it would be going bad at the end. So, what I've found is like a cost saving and also just food waste avoiding tactic is buying some of these things frozen. Whether that's already cooked or uncooked, I typically buy uncooked because I can use them in recipes.
Mhm.
But I think that's it's a really great way to save money, time, and just avoid that food waste altogether. And same with the berries. I do the same thing because we don't get berries here. Where I'm at, you can't. I mean, if I were to buy a carton of strawberries, I think they were $9 at the store US last time I was there. And if you buy a
Strawberries?
frozen bag from Costco, they're like $8 and it's huge. So I think it's really, really helpful. And then just to wrap up, last question. What are a few actionable steps you would give someone wanting to improve their diet and or their fitness?
Fitness, set standards. I don't care what your standards are, just just set them. For me, it is 3 days a week, no matter what. I'm walking on the treadmill, I'm reading my book. 3 days a week, no matter what, I'm hitting heavy weights. And I go into the gym every day, but that's up to my choice because I want to, because it's fun. But the 3 days are like mandatory. You got to do that. So set a standard, a fitness standard, and then add things that give you true happiness and joy. For health, open your cupboards and you will have things in your cupboards that you know you probably shouldn't have, or that you know you can really go to town on, and you just want to get rid of those, or just finish them off and don't buy them again. And then you also want to be make smarter grocery store choices. I never want to put someone on a diet. I never want to reduce calories. I always just want to think, what do you enjoy? What is easy for you? What works for you? How can we make this effortless? How can we make your healthy eating more effortless? So that's when I'm saying, let's look at breakfast. You like eggs? Okay, well, let's do some eggs and some fresh fruit for breakfast instead of eggs and toast. Let's try like sliced jicama so you get that crunchiness of your crisp toast that you like. So just shop Whole Foods at the grocery store. You don't need to follow a diet. You don't need to follow a cleanse. You just need to get rid of the BS food like products and just get real food.
Awesome. Yeah, that's super helpful. Thank you for coming and speaking with me. Where can people find you and what's the best way to contact with you to work one-on-one?
Okay, for coaching, you can go to my website, nutritionbyelsa.com, and there's like a little tab, right? I built my whole website by myself, so you should definitely check it out because it's really cool. Go to the little tab that says coaching, and then you can fill out a contact form or you can email me through there. You can also message me on Instagram, Nutrition by Elsa. Instagram is the best place to get information from me. I like posting stories when I just have like random things pop into my head. My TikTok is a bit of a dumping grounds where I post things that I didn't think were good enough for Instagram. And my YouTube is really more about brain health and study tips. So you can see how I study because it's kind of interesting. My stuff looks crazy, but it works for me. And so I share my study tips for ADHD on there.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you so